Hi, welcome back. I'm excited because we're finally back. We had kind of taken a break during August with a lot of camps going on here. It was just easier to not be doing this and having to worry about the noise and the commotion. So we just kind of gave each other a break, and I missed it, and I'm really glad we're back. And I'm back with my favorite monthly guest, Larry Ruffing, who we haven't seen for a while.
No.
And
Not here.
Not here. I see him. Yeah, I saw him this morning. But we're always thinking and talking about fitness ideas, partly helpfully because we're in the building at the same time, and every now and then one of us will say, "Hey, how about this?"
How about this?
Or else I'll go up to him and say, "I did this last week." I said, "You think of something, and I'll think of something." But it doesn't usually end up having to be very planned because it's just kind of one thing leads to another. We find.
Very much so.
But we specifically talked about, because we had talked about it in terms of a few of us that were scheduling, and the word recovery came into play, and people forget that they do need to not, saying you go to the gym 6 days a week is not necessarily a brilliant remark, depending on what you do, but the recovery matters. And get into that a little, if you would, with what your body needs in terms of a day off or a lighter day.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's one of the things that we seem to forget a lot about is in order to make gains, we need to have the body rest a little bit. So we always like to inform people that you want to change your workout, but I don't want to work if I'm doing resistance training, so to speak, whether it's weights or body weight resistance exercises, dumbbells, bands, whatever it might be. I don't want to do the same body part every single day. I want to give it a break. Because one of the things that happens in the body is every time we do a resistance training exercise, the body releases two enzymes, one that tears it down, one that builds it back up. That process takes 48 hours, and we've talked about it before. When we start a new exercise program, we're usually a little bit sore the next day, but 2 days out, we're a lot more sore than we were the prior day, and that's an indication that the body is still trying to repair itself from the activity given 2 days ago. So you don't want to work out. If you're hurting, you don't want to exercise the same body parts. So if you did an upper body exercise routine, go to a lower body, or do some cardiovascular, or warm the body up a little bit, then stretch, massage, something of that sort to just help the body recover a little bit. So I guess that the Monday, Wednesday, Friday routine is kind of out the window now as far as I can do weights on Monday, cardio Tuesday, weights on Wednesday, cardio Thursday, weights on Friday, take Saturday, Sunday off. You want to vary it a little bit more than that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us are eager beavers over there sometimes when we like a certain discipline enough that we say, can we do 3 days of it? And this guy here will say, no, actually I'd prefer you didn't. I mean, he can't tell you not to, but he can tell you why he'd rather you didn't. And that would be just, this would involve was going to involve 3 days of the same basic thing.
Correct.
So that's why you say it, and it's valid, and that's why we do every other now, and so be it. But recovery is an umbrella too for other parts of recovery, which, in other words, pacing yourself, knowing when your body is on the verge of pain or on the verge of something, and reading your body. I think as we get older, we read it better. We know that no pain, no gain doesn't work, and it doesn't work. Never probably did, but it was always a big mantra for so long.
Right. Well, and I think we have to look at the different definitions of certain things. There's soreness, there's aches, and there's pains. If you have pain, that's something to say, wait a minute, all right, what's going on? Right. If I've got some soreness or an ache or two here or there, the body's recovering, but you're okay. A pain is something different, and that's right. I remember the saying was, no pain, no gain, and so people want to push more and more because I'm not feeling the burn, I'm not feeling the pain, but it's more about the recovery. And we often say now, gains aren't made in the gym, they're made in the bedroom. When you're sleeping and resting, that's when the body recovers and makes the gains. It's not what you do in the gym, it's how you recover afterwards that allows the body to recover, to recuperate, to overcome that stress that you put on it, build itself up to be better and stronger to overcome that stress should you put it on it again. So that's where the gains are made.
And I think not enough people know that or remember it at the time because they want to just keep doing what they're doing. And I'm one of those. It's very hard for me to take a day off.
Oh,
I had to recently with an ailment, but
Yeah.
I hated every minute of the fact that of the time I wasn't there.
Well, when you start to make gains, all of a sudden you say, well, if I'm doing this amount of work, if I do more, I'm going to make more gains. That's not always the case either.
No, it took a long time, and I was, for me, I was wise about it, and I'm coming back very slowly and getting back in. I did an aerobics class the other day, and I survived it very well. But for a while, the other was just the TRX and that kind of thing was safer for me, just more stretching and not as impactful then. So,
Right.
But I think we're all there's always something to learn about what we're doing in the gym. If I know people that are doing too much in there, I see it.
Yeah.
But there's also such a thing as not enough to be
Right.
helpful.
Right.
I mean, I guess everybody has their own little happy medium. But and something else. So remember that 7 days a week isn't necessarily a good thing. You were telling me recently about all the athletes and all the team trainings and all the things that are going on. It seems to me that almost every school kid now does some form of training, whether it's group or personal, or they just seem to have to keep up with the strength that's happening around them and to be competitive.
It's very true. When I was in school, there was some training that went on, weightlifting, things of that sort. I don't think the growth in the industry or the athletic endeavor, I mean, the athletic side of the training part was there when we were young.
Right.
I mean, it was the weight room, a Nautilus machine, or a universal gym was what we would have, and that it was strictly like the football players and maybe your track
The
throwers,
real super jock.
the big, the heavy shot putters, people of that sort were doing that. But now it's become a huge industry, and it's a huge gain for people to do resistance training and speed training, plyometrics, to stay up with every other athlete who's doing it. It's funny, I think there are still a lot of three-sport athletes, but there are a lot more individuals who are concentrating on one or two sports, taking 1 year or one season off and doing weight training, plyometrics, speed training, agility, endurance work to make themselves better for the other 2 seasons that they're playing a sport.
That's right. And no one ever thought of it that way. And in fact, I'm old enough to be able to say we would get on, it would be gym class, and we'd go right out and start kicking the soccer ball. We didn't stretch. We didn't do anything that was smart. I'm lucky I came through it unscarred, but I just am well aware of the number of people that work in group training or one-on-one training, and the parents are kind of pressured into doing it for them, expensive as it is, because all the other kids on the team are doing it, and what a disadvantage this poor boy would be at. And now it's true. I mean, there are enough people doing it that you are disadvantaged.
Yes. I mean, well, I don't know if I want to call it a disadvantage. It may put you behind a little bit, but if you're a gifted athlete, you could probably make up for that.
Sure.
It is interesting, though, when you look at some of the injuries that are occurring with athletes in high school. It appears to be, or seem to me, I don't recall a lot of hamstring pulls and muscle pulls when I was playing in school, but there seems to be more now. I think there's a correlation with the amount of weight training we do, or resistance training, or the off-season training that we do, that is leading to certain injuries. There's no data backing it up, but it seems like there's more injuries, and so we're trying to do the right thing to prevent these injuries. And sometimes, if we're not doing the right thing, could we be increasing the chance or the risk of an injury because we're not doing the right training? Exactly. And so therefore, if you're going to do that, you want to find a professional that can help you, get you on the right track. Make sure you're doing, if you're doing a lot of leg extensions, you want to be doing leg curls as well. So I'm working the front of the thigh and the back of the thigh. I want that muscle balance, and I think a lot of injuries are occurring because we have a muscle imbalance. And
they may be training, but their own way, without doing it right.
And in a lot of the classes that we have, we talk about full range of motion for an activity so that the muscle stretches and then can contract. And the more that a muscle can stretch, the stronger it can contract.
Right.
But if I only work it through a small range of motion, I'm only strong in that small range of motion. So if a stress is put on it when I'm outside that range of motion, I can get hurt.
Exactly.
Therefore, the full range of motion, stretching, and increasing your flexibility are so much more important. And the stronger you get, the more flexible you can become. That the old adage used to be the other way around. Well, the bigger I get, the more I lose my flexibility.
That's right.
No, if you do it properly through a full range of motion, I'm going to get stronger through that full range of motion, but I'm also going to increase my flexibility, which leads to more muscular balance.
And I don't know, I never was aware of much training or knowledge, education in flexibility, balance being such a critical part. I mean, when you were an athlete, you were an athlete. You went out and did your sport, and you did it well, and you went home, and end of story. But this flexibility business, there are a lot of great athletes that do yoga and Pilates and stuff like that. But your point earlier is the best one, that you do it with someone who knows what to do, because you could be wasting your time just spinning your wheels, not helping yourself at all, spending a lot of time, a lot of money, and not really going in the right direction.
Not making the gains that you actually want or need for that specific sport that you're playing.
Right.
It is so true, Judy, that does happen. And you want to really avoid it as much as possible. You want someone who has researched the sport that you're playing, knows the exercises that you need, or specifically the movements that you have to perform in that exercise, in that event, that sport, and then do the exercises that are tailored for those mechanics that you have to perform in that sport that you're playing.
And a lot of people, a lot of trainers, a lot of instructors do some of these sports. So you're even further ahead if you find one of those.
Right.
I know some of the drills that I've had done lately. I mean, it's kind of I play golf, and there are a lot of things that help that kind of motion without really being called a golf exercise. But it makes me more aware of what kind of things that are in a general program will make a certain activity of my own better. Right. But flexibility, everyone seems to think you're either born flexible or you're not. I mean, I've seen guys go through yoga classes that had to start out with someone practically pulling their legs apart, you know, to get them to bend, and coming out of it just feeling like a new person. And in most gym classes, classes in a gym, there's got to be there's that certain amount of that to get you ready. You do it.
Always.
You get ready early to stretch, you do your thing, the harder part, and then you stretch to cool off, to cool down, and we didn't ever have it. And this has been the last 10 years since I started training has been the most educational 10 years of my life, because I'd been an athlete all my life, but without any of this preparation.
Well, if you notice, a lot of times when we start class too, the first thing we do is not to stretch a muscle. Right. We're going to warm it up. We're going to start doing an activity. We want to raise that body temperature so that we increase the temperature of the muscles, which increases its ability to stretch and not pull. And then we'll do the heavier, more intense stretching at the end of the workout, stretch those muscles back out, help promote the blood flow again so that we get new nutrients and more oxygen and blood back into the muscles. But so we do it at the end, so we alleviate some of the soreness and the stiffness that can be associated with it. Well, you walk out of there
feeling a whole lot better in every way, but that way particularly knowing you're not going to wake up wishing you hadn't done it.
True.
I've learned so much over the years about how to do it right and how to do it. You know, I think it's a patience thing too, and a tedium thing. I think people think the warm-ups and the stretches and the getting ready for a sport or even a class is just so tedious. It's like practicing at the range or something. I mean, it's just boring, and I'm getting used to boring, because boring is saving all kinds of injury and all kinds. I'm not going to sit here and say I love to stretch and warm up and get on the floor and do things, but I know it keeps me going.
Well, I'd like to think that that boring also makes your exercise program better.
Yeah.
It allows you to do more within that class because you are stressed out, you're feeling warmed up.
Absolutely.
So the boring is allowing you to maybe produce more and get more results.
It's a horrible word, I realize. But I do
true.
think people think of any kind of pre-preparation for a sport as tedious, at least, if not boring. Oh, do I have to go through all that? I want to get to the fun stuff.
That's what it comes down to.
That's exactly how people will say it. And I know that even going out and playing golf, I've got to do a little stretching right there, just to feel looser. But
well, what do you do for stretches when you get on the golf course? What are the things that you do to try and warm up before you go and play golf?
I do a lot of shoulder and flexibility with a golf club, and with a lot of the drills that'll take you up in the motions of a golf swing. I do, but I also do the whole body. I do squats, I do lunges, I do everything standing out there, because every part of me needs to be involved. But I do swing a lot and take a club and hold it out and go as far around as I can. I don't claim to know a lot about what I should be doing, but I do what feels right for what I'm about to do.
Do you ever swing more than one club at a time?
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
Yep.
Add a little more weight to it. Grab a couple of clubs and swing them through the arc nice and easy.
Yep.
Like you said, you can take a club out in front of you and just twist and turn.
And just get that back and shoulders. That's the part of us that, for so many people that sit and look at a desk and computer all day, that's the part that really needs to get opened up and loose, and to go from a computer Friday to a golf game Saturday. There's some work to do.
Yeah. Well, and if you think about it, a lot of times with the activity that we're doing, it involves a certain amount of range of motion, balance, and coordination. If I'm tight and stiff, clearly my range of motion is going to be compromised.
Exactly.
My balance is going to be off, because I'm not going to be able to move the way I want to maintain the balance. And so therefore my coordination is going to be different. So you want to warm up every aspect of the body, every part that you're going to be using to enhance your balance, your coordination, so that now these activities become a little bit easier. Golf is an extreme example of balance and coordination needed to perform the activity.
I mean, it's exasperating enough without having physical things get in the way. I mean, Lord knows it's one that I've always thought I'd master a sport when I took it up, and often I did, but this one I won't. I don't have enough years left, and I wouldn't if I was 10. That's part of the draw, though. That's part of what absolutely keeps me coming back, because I know I'm going to do better next
Well, you
time.
hit 3 great shots and said, why can't I do this every time?
Right.
You know, it's that real good shot that keeps you coming
absolutely
back.
right. And with me, it's also the fact that I'm going to get that handicap down if it's the last thing I do. I like a challenge, and that golf is a challenge. Even though it's one of the most fun things I do, it's still one of the hardest things I do.
But it's also, you don't have to be great at it to enjoy it.
No.
I mean, and there are varying degrees of great. Are we gonna make the PGA or the LPGA? No. I enjoy playing golf as well. It's a fun aspect to go out, play it, try and better yourself from the last time. But it's also a great way of getting some exercise if you walk.
It's walking.
And walk 9 holes, 18 holes. If you don't want to carry your clubs, get a push cart. You can rent those for under $5
I own one,
or whatever.
so I can always walk.
But that's a great way of getting exercise too.
And it's social, it's fun. You also get rid of some, I mean, I have a friend who is known for never using any bad language, except on the golf course.
On the golf course.
And it'll bring that out too, but it's social. You're only going to be choosing to play with people you want to be with. So right then and there, it's going to be fun. And if you don't take it too seriously, I'm past thinking I'm going to do anything. I go in tournaments and league things, but I don't expect to win them. And so I have a much more fun time out there now, because I've accepted the fact that I can play a pretty good game, but I'm not really competing against anyone anymore.
And even on top of that, knowing that you're not, you may not win and everything, you're still preparing yourself to go out and play so that you can enjoy it at the utmost that you're able to. And that's another important aspect of it too. Don't just, all right, here we go, I'll just go out and play and not warm up. You want to be able to enjoy it, and it's important. The warm up is as important for you as it is for the star athlete who wants to play.
Maybe more so.
It could be, yes, with giving age differences.
Doing it less than a real pro has to do it for training purposes. If you go a week without playing golf, or 2 weeks in the summer, you almost feel like you're starting over.
You can.
So you have to really take it seriously. And Practice, practice, practice.
But golf is one of those things where, unlike working out, you can do golf every day.
Yeah, exactly.
And probably not get tired of it.
And I would if I could. But I think again, back to what the basics are with recovery and preparation, you can't just slough them off and say, that sitting at the putting green and chipping all day is just boring me. I can't. Let's just go play.
Right.
People think the only fun part of a sport is the playing, which it is in fun terms, but in terms of doing well with it, you've got to be ready.
Well, and even, I'll agree with that, and even afterwards, you want to make sure that you're cooling down properly too, so there are no ill effects from whatever endeavor you just took part in. You want to cool down, you want to re-stretch the muscles, you want to make sure that you're flushing it of lactic acid and other byproducts that come up, so that you don't feel that stiffness and soreness, and it creates a better feeling even afterwards. You know, what you may enjoy, look back on the round and enjoy it more because you don't feel as stiff, you don't feel as sore, you feel better. Or whatever sport it might have played. If you go out and play flag football or soccer or basketball or whatever it might be, even bowling. You know, you want to cool down properly and re-stretch those muscles afterwards so that you don't have the soreness and the stiffness associated.
There's nothing worse than the next day saying, "Oh, I can't do it today. I really did too much, or I didn't do it right, or I didn't take time in between." I want to go when I want to go, and done right, I can.
Yes.
And now that I've missed some time with the ailment, I'm like an itchy little bear in there. I want to go in every day, and I know I shouldn't. But again, when the winter comes, then I'm much more hooked.
Well, but
because I'm not outside so much.
We'll go back and look at what you went through and what you did. And I think initially when you came back, you tried doing it. You want to get right into it. You tried doing a ton, and it set you back a little bit. Now you've taken a little bit slower. Look at the progress that you've made,
Absolutely.
the range of motion that you've gained back again. You're not feeling the ill effects of it. You say you're doing exercises now with little to no pain, which you didn't have prior.
Exactly.
So this has worked out better because you haven't had those setbacks. You've taken it slow, easy. You've done the proper things. You've done the boring things that we were talking about. But that has benefited you to get back to this level that you've gotten to, which has got to be very rewarding.
But at the time, I'm not one to sit around and rest a body part. I'm just not. Don't ever tell me to go home and sit on the couch with an ice pack. I've had to do that, and I've lived through it. And now I know it pays off, and I'm not 20 anymore. I'd be stupid if I didn't take that advice.
Well, I mean, kudos to you for doing that and going back and doing it the proper way, because it's really helped you. And I mean, I look at the gains you've made just since you've been back.
Totally.
And that's something for everybody to understand. You can't jump into an endeavor with both feet and both arms after you've been out for a while. You need to take it a little bit slower, one step at a time. You may feel great, and then you just go a little bit too far, and it sets you back 2 weeks.
True.
It's worth 2 more weeks, because 2 more weeks down the road, you're probably going to be a lot further than you would have been without the setback. So you want to take it slow. Yes.
Pace it. I mean, I know people that are also, when they've had any kind of medical issue, it is very difficult for those of us that call ourselves gym rats to not be able to go. And we feel very sluggish, and not sluggish in the way that says lazy, sluggish in the way that we're not good at sitting still. And you think, oh, I'm going to put weight on, I'm going to get grumpy, and I did a little of that too.
So we find other things to do, though.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's when I started doing some volunteer work and got busier, and anyway, it was a good learning experience, because I haven't had, luckily, many things that have slowed me down.
But being a volunteer kept you active as well. So you weren't just sitting. So that probably helped or enhanced your recovery from the standpoint that you were constantly moving. You were doing things. Not doing anything specific.
Vigorous.
Right. But still moving the body so that parts were moving and contracting and blood was flowing.
Sitting still is not a phrase I like.
You can't get stiff when you're moving.
Exactly.
Sitting still, you can get stiff and not be able to
and the
move.
more you're inactive, the more inactive you want to be.
Right.
And people forget that working out and exercising energizes you. It doesn't wear you out. It energizes you, which is why I've always gone in the morning. That rest of that day just is such a piece of cake, because I feel so pumped up and so healthy. End of the day, it's fine if that's what you do, but I find that it's a myth that people say, you must go home and have to eat and lie down. And are you kidding?
Well, there's a reason, and this may be a subject that we can talk about in future shows, but there's a reason why major companies within cities are taking out a floor of their offices, and they're putting in a gym.
Yes.
And they're saying, look, here's the deal. We're going to pay you for an 8-hour day. But one of those hours during that day, we want you to get out of the gym, exercise, do something with you, get on a treadmill, lift weights, do some resistance training, band training, take a class, whatever it might be. We're going to provide these for you. We will pay you for that hour, but we want you working 8 hours. They're finding that they're getting more productivity out of those people working an 8-hour day, taking an hour to exercise, than those working 9 straight hours a day. So why not pay less and get more productivity?
Well, they get productivity. I did this with a firm. I did some consultations with a company that was incentivizing their people to get healthy, and their premiums went down. I mean, they didn't have the absenteeism that they used to have. They didn't have. I mean, they gave them a lot of options and things they could do to get healthier, and got paid for the time. And the company benefited. It isn't just
Very much so.
They're not being totally unselfish about this. They're getting something back in the way of a premium decrease. So
well, they're getting more productivity. They're also saving money because, like you said, sick time is cut back.
Exactly.
They don't have to hire subs. They don't have to do extra training. But this is something we can probably talk about that for another class. Just the different benefits that come along with exercise.
I think we should make that a whole theme because typically we've zipped right through our time, which is just scary how this happens.
Now I'm beginning to wonder. We say in TRX class it's the fastest hour of the day,
this
35 seconds
at a
time. This has got to be the fastest 30 minutes of the day. One conversation after another.
I'm sitting here getting signals when I think we're about 10 minutes into it, and it's a good thing because I think I love to be able to ramble with you and go from topic to topic, and we do manage to go off tangentially rather well. Yes. But I'm glad you're back. I'm glad we're back, and I'm trying to get some ideas for people to come on here. I keep Facebook now when I show what shows are going to be on a given night. I'm going to also ask people if they know someone with some very interesting parts of their life or sport or civic or anything else. Let us know because we are always looking to. I'm trying to branch out a little now from all athletic things to more. Well, civic and human interest stories. So please out there, get in touch. Our information and Larry's contact information is always on the screen. And we really would love to hear if you have ideas for us to talk about in the way of fitness. Yes, most people have questions about nutrition or what's the right warm-up for X. We will answer them immediately and do a show on them if it's substantial enough and would suit the rest of the world. So please do it. And once again, thank you, sir.
Thank you. My
I'm
pleasure.
so glad we're back.
Glad to be back.
Took off a long time.
Happy to be back.
And we are all glad to be back. So we'll again to Larry Ruffing, we will see you next time.